Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
This is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all the things that they love and all the things they maybe don't love so much in modern culture. I've been saying pop culture, I think, since this podcast began, but we don't really talk about pop culture, do we?
I mean, I guess, technically comic books are pop culture.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it counts.
Either way.
I mean, listen, the things that we liked before they were cool are now very cool. So
yeah.
I think we're just ahead of the times.
Basically, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, we're essentially like Will and Jada, except we don't hate each other. And neither of us would have ever dared make After Earth. But just like Will and Jada, we're not fucking.
Exactly. But Che definitely had sex with Tupac. I have no idea.
What's she doing to my man's?
It's
out here ruining his life for fun, I think.
Basically, because it's the funny thing is, like, you're the less famous one. Like,
it's crazy.
You're like the lesser. Like, it's crazy that you're like kind of trying to drive this relationship, and you were the worst thing on the TV show Gotham. Which
did you ever watch her show Hawthorne?
No, of course not.
It was like I think it was a medical drama. I barely remember. It's been a while, but I mean, it might be a brilliant publicity move by Alphabet, because it's the only time in my life I've ever considered watching a YouTube original show. Is this like Will Smith best shape of my life thing? Where I guess he has like a mental fucking breakdown on YouTube.
I'm worried about him, honestly.
Yeah, I'm big worried.
Generally, where it's funny. I've never seen someone like have a family and it just be like the worst thing that happened to them career wise.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
It's like he had kids and a wife, and everything just started going downhill for him. Should have stuck with the first kid. They made a song together, and after that, it was everything was fine.
And King Richard does not look like it's going to be a good movie. So
what is that movie supposed to be about? Wasn't he an abusive piece of shit? I'm really confused because in the trailers, it's like it seems like this whole like inspirational story. I'm like, he was like a bad guy.
Well, I think they're gonna do the like. I don't know. I think they're gonna. They definitely have to address the fact that he was probably pretty awful, but I mean, you can't really argue with the results, can you?
It's that Atlanta episode, but let's get into the episode itself.
If you've made it past our Will and Jada conversation, then
you picked the weirdest dynamic duos, man.
It's true.
That was a bad one. I gotta say, Che, that was not a good fit for us.
That's a great dynamic duo. What are you talking about?
We're also doing video now, so I actually have to look at Che and not just stare longingly into the distance like I usually do.
I gotta figure out a place to put my webcam, because right now if I stare at my webcam, I can't see any of my other screens. But it doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. You can also follow us at Next Time On Pod on social media platforms. I'm running through the business really fast. Please go rate us 5 stars, because obviously these last 2.5 minutes have proved that we are well deserving of all of your 5-star ratings. And last but not least, you can go check out all of our archived writing, all of our past podcasts, future podcasts, all that good stuff will be on nexttimeon.net. And might as well get down to business, because we have a pretty jam-packed show full of some amazing comic books and a movie that... Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Yeah, if you guys were listening to that fucking movie,
you guys should also listen to our previous episode where we talk about Something Is Killing the Children. It's a very good book club episode where we talk about the great... we're going to be talking about this writer later on in the episode, James Tynion.
Twice, right? We have two more James Tynion books on here.
Yes, we're also apologizing for saying his name incorrectly for the entirety of that last video. We were so sorry. Because the problem is, I 100% know that I did switch to saying it the right way at some point in this podcast, but my brain just completely forgot about it.
No, we looked it up like after the first book we talked about it. We talked about one of his books, and I think in that podcast we called him Tynion, which is crazy because it's not spelled like that.
No, it's not.
But also, I don't know. I guess I put some extra flavor on his name, and I just stuck in my head. But let's do the elevator pitch.
Sure.
If you guys are first-time listeners to the podcast, the elevator pitch is essentially what it sounds like. We each get a minute on the clock, and we will pitch you guys a thing that we are really obsessed with at the moment. And Cory is going to go first, because I have to move around these scenes.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
You're gonna give me a timer, or are you just gonna tell me?
Oh Jesus. Okay, no timer. You can't see the timer
me...
this time, but the audience can't. I'll have to figure that out later.
Give me a 10-second.
I'll give you.
Okay.
I'll give you the signal. All right, ready? And
Yep.
I'm hitting start now.
So I picked up Guardians of the Galaxy, the video game, mostly because I saw how well it was received online. And I was very hesitant to play the game where I'm like, you only have to play Star-Lord on Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, that's kind of a weird choice to pick for a team. But what I got to say is it's probably one of the better story-driven games I've played in a long time. It's just like the gameplay itself isn't really what I think the focus is in the game. It's just a really good story. Relies a little bit more on the comic books, but it's kind of a really good mesh of like how good those original, like the 2008 comics were with the James Gunn era of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Really good. The story, I'm only halfway through it right now, but I'm absolutely in love with it. I'm just having a great time with it. I mean, I'm not trying to do. I'm just really kind of weird with the pitch. It's just like really, really of a good game. Yeah. I don't want to spoil anything. I was going to make a joke about a big spoiler in it, but I'm not going to do it. Just play the game. It's really good.
There you go. Easy.
Yeah.
I didn't even really. I didn't think about the logistics of this anymore because now that we record the video, I can't just share my screen with you because then it fucks up the whole scene.
Oh, that's actually an excellent point.
I'll have to figure that out later, though.
Maybe I'll do my own for the people. I'll do my own stopwatch going forward.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
It's a damn good game.
I didn't know this game was coming out. Like
I forgot.
I hadn't heard about it at all. I don't know how. You guys know me. I don't watch trailers or any of that shit if I can avoid it. But so there is a Guardians of the Galaxy game made by Telltale Game, a company that I generally love, and that game is terrible. And I remember I logged on to Twitch one day, and like 10 people I follow were streaming Guardians of the Galaxy was the category. I was like, why are these people playing this shitty Telltale game from like 5 years ago?
Guys, excuse my background noise, by the way, guys. I'm sorry.
It's the culture of New York City there.
Yeah, that's why I give you that ambient sound. I apologize. This is just the apartment that I live in, because you guys aren't paying me those big podcast dollars.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
But now we're in on the YouTube grind. Actually, I guess we should have talked about that up top. I completely forgot. But we have a YouTube channel now.
Yes.
I would love to tell you guys like a nice, clean URL to go to, but I can't because we don't have enough subscribers yet to change it. The link will be in the description, so go check it out. Subscribe.
Please subscribe. Yeah.
Faces while we're talking.
Share our videos. It's nice, and now we actually have like content you can watch and not be just listening to it, so you actually can see our great faces.
At the moment, it is just it's just the podcast in video form.
Yeah.
But I think the future plan is to get some like exclusive video content for you guys.
Exactly. With there's planning out. We're probably gonna try to do some original stuff going forward. But yeah, I'm excited to see where how our YouTube channel grows, and I really hope you guys go check it out. When one day I'll learn to look into my camera when I'm talking to Che.
I would love, like, literally, I'm looking at my camera right now. I'm sure it looks better for the audience, but I literally can't see any of my screens, and I have so much information going on around me. I can't.
Oh, I can't even glance around. My screens are that direction. So it's pretty much just me talking to you until we actually have to get into the notes of things.
We'll evolve. We'll get better at this whole video thing.
Che, what's your pitch?
All right, yeah, I will start the clock in now. So I've seen a ton of movies over the last few weeks. I'm really excited to be like basically fully back into the movie grind. That's great. But one of the movies I saw a couple weeks ago now at this time was one that I was like lukewarm on because it is a Ridley Scott movie who has had some
hit or miss.
Some true misses recently. And really the only reason I was even like remotely excited for this is because it stars Jodie Comer. The movie is The Last Duel. I'm sure you've all have heard of it. Matt Damon, Adam Driver, Ben Affleck in one of the least Ben Affleckian roles I've ever seen. And
I heard he was good in it.
He's fantastic. Everyone's fantastic in it. This movie is absolutely incredible. It is Ridley Scott back in his like the form I love the most. It's very Gladiator-esque, plus some really sort of timely sexual politics that I think are quite well handled for a movie of its style. So that was my pitch on The Last Duel, in which I don't think I mentioned really anything about the movie at all. But it's good.
Didn't.
You guys don't.
It's good. Yeah. Okay.
Ridley Scott makes good fucking movies sometimes.
Yeah. I mean sometimes. Yeah. I mean he did a really good job. Well, he was really good at I think he directed some episodes of the show that I can never remember the name of.
Raised by Wolves. He directed the first two for sure.
Yes, and
I don't remember if he came back and directed any other ones.
But those first two episodes were very solid.
Yeah, Ridley Scott is still, I think, in the totality of his catalog, is still one of the greatest directors of all time. I think it's impossible to argue with that. I mean, a man who made Alien, Blade Runner, Gladiator, like I already said, The Martian more recently, Kingdom of Heaven, a movie that doesn't get enough love, but I really enjoy it.
I think I texted you when I was watching, because I rewatched, when did I watch The Martian again? I cannot remember exactly.
I think you were reading the book, another book by him, so I think it was like a couple months ago.
Must have been a couple months ago, but it's like I was watching and I'm like, oh yeah, I think like, is this the last good movie Ridley Scott has done? But I mean, shit, I'm glad to hear that he's coming back.
Yeah, I think before The Last Duel, and actually it looks like he's gonna have like a banner year, because it seems like House of Gucci is actually, it might be like fire.
I mean, the cast and the trailers do look excellent for it.
The initial buzz from the reviews is that it's really good. So, and apparently, he's had some say. I don't really know when they do this like producer credit stuff. I don't know how much the people have say in it, but he has a role in the Death on the Nile, the sequel to Orient Express.
I hope that's good.
The first one was really good, and I loved
I loved the bit. It was a bit okay in my book.
Really, so, I really liked it. Oh, this one is really weighted down by the 10-foot statue that is Cannibal Armie Hammer. So I don't really know how they're gonna.
It's hey, listen, just I still like Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah,
but it's
we've
weird
talked
to know
about
in the
this
background.
enough times. We don't need to apologize for liking.
But he's just a cannibal.
All people do. Yeah.
But no, I mean, I plan to actually see Death of the Nile in the actual theaters. Like, I kind of was distracted. I feel like when I watched the first one, and then watching the original Murder on the Orient Express, and I was like, that one's just really fucking good.
Yeah.
But I digress.
I think people got burned, the perception of it got burned because it came out very close to Knives Out, which was just a more popular version of that movie.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So, Che, do you want to hop into the episode, though?
Yeah, let's do it. So we're gonna switch. We're gonna talk about some new comics, and first up on the list, very timely, like we said, you can go check out the episode where we talked about the first volume of this book. This is the James Tynion spin-off from Something Is Killing the Children. Or is spin-off really the right word? I guess so.
I think it has to be a spin-off, because it's definitely no spoilers. This definitely takes place before Something Is Killing the Children.
Yeah. Before and during?
No.
Okay.
Not during the main storyline that's happening. I don't know how far you are in the book series, but there's a very I'm trying to be very vague here.
I am behind, so I think yes.
There's a very big reason why this.
Got you. So this is House of Slaughter, the Something's Killing the Children prequel. Like I said, James Tynion IV. I don't know if we need to plug his accolades again. We just talked about how amazing it was, like last week. But this is a new artist.
But does he? Book. But the artist does fit the style very well, to the point where I had to double check to see that it's not the same person again. So it looks a little bit different, but I like that they kind of, I mean, I remember, Che, when we were talking in the book club episode, you didn't really love how dirty, in a sense, it kind of looked. Or, not dirty, I guess, but kind of sketchy.
I don't know if I communicated my thoughts really well in that episode. Really, it wasn't a like or dislike. I think the art is really well done. I just don't know if it fit with that style of story. And maybe it's because I've warmed to it, or this is just a different type of story. But I think the art works really well here. And this, I just want to plug the guy. So this is Chris Shahan does the art here, and we also have Tate Bromdell. Bromdell is co-writing. He's credited as doing the script. So
Tynion probably did the outline for this.
Does the story arc, and then Brumbaugh does the script. And Brumbaugh, who worked on some stuff with Jeff Lemire, most famously, he did some Black Hammer books, and also Barbalian Red Planet. Did you ever read that?
What's that? Is that not a spinoff from Black Hammer?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was one that he entirely wrote himself. I don't think he was at least lead author on it. Versus some of the Black Hammer spinoffs, he was co-author with Lemire. So let's talk about this prequel, Corey. What did you think of this first issue?
I liked it from the sense that as someone who's just I've caught up with all 20 issues of Something is Killing the Children, where the first 3 volumes definitely wraps up the initial storyline that takes place there, and issues I want to say 16 through 20 kind of handle like kind of in the sense of a prequel taking place in this whole like the Monster Hunter Secret Society thing. And as a kind of just like as a meta standpoint from that, I'm happy that they are doing this.
Yeah.
Because as much as I do enjoy the Secret Society aspect of like the book, I'm like I kind of want to like focus a lot more on like Erica and her hunting monsters and that whole side of things a bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that this book actually exists because I do think this part of the book is really interesting. And it just wasn't enough to explore 20 pages like once a month.
I also think it takes a smart writer to realize I have something interesting here, but not enough time to explore it and do it justice.
Exactly.
And so that I think this is the type of thing that's perfectly right for like a spin-off book. Take note, Marvel, where every time you have a event, you have 30,000 spin-off books that nobody wants to read.
Too many. This is way too many. So I think it works for this because it's like not like you don't need to read both, but like because they each like exist in the same universe. But you can work with more of the Secret Society aspect of things. Because it's like
also these are just really interesting characters. Like we've been dropped into a world of people that I'm just very invested in.
Exactly, I'm right there with you. Especially Aaron, who was like, "Oof, god damn, I hate
What the fuck was that?"
This is I don't know why. Apparently, there's a trucker going through Brooklyn, New York right now.
It sounded like a fucking ferry.
Honestly, it's coming to take me away. I do not live anywhere near the water. But sorry guys, that really distracted me from my thought. But I remember the introduction to Aaron in the first like in the original Something is Killing the Children, and I really liked his design from the get-go there. And we don't see too much of his character, but it was very. He does such a good job with doing a lot with little introduction to the character. Because when you first meet him, he's like, "Oh, this guy's a fucking asshole," and then like as time goes on, you're like, "Oh, he's just kind of super." Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Like, is he kind of... It's... Because I don't want to spoil too much about this volume 2 of it, because I think you guys should genuinely go out and read this without spoilers into it. Yeah. But I love, like, he, like, probably isn't in that many issues of the main book, but the way that they, like, work his character around as someone who's loyal but doesn't agree with everything, it's just so well done to, like, Erica's just like fuck the system mindset. Yeah. It's somebody who's like trying to middle the ground and like and kind of make this work. And I think this book also does such a good job too with like just like every page is character building on it. And like as we start off with this him full on Monster Hunter into his childhood in this Hunger Games-esque academy. I think it's just really well done.
Another one of my favorite horror movie or just like action movie tropes is group of girls, one of which talks, the other ones basically don't ever say anything, are all dickheads and ruin everybody's lives. I think
it's just like kind of a staple in every like. It's like like I mean you said horror movie. I think it's just every time someone's at a prep school.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it just happens that all of my experience with prep school is horrifying.
It's prep school. So I think like also X-Men has the same thing with like I need someone to like write me an email and explain to me how Emma Frost and all those like the fucking twins that follow around, like I think they're her clones or whatever. I don't know. X-Men are fucking complicated, but it's just the same thing where it's just a group of very mean blonde women.
We talked about this before. It comes up basically every time we talk about high school, but I guess I just had a very different high school experience than everybody who's ever written a comic book, because I don't remember there being like groups of girls roaming around ruining everyone's day.
Yeah, exactly. Just it's but so I mean like so this book is treated so we get introduced to like a younger Aaron as he's like pretty much being put through the training, and we get like the whole exposition that he's not very good at his job or not going to be very good at his job in the future. And as the book continues on, I mean, like, if you read the other Something Killing the Children book, there's like a lot longer of an explanation between what the House of Slutter is. To sum it up, it is a secret monster hunting society, and they're in different divisions. The book focuses on the Black Division and the White Division. The Black Division only has like 2 or 3 members, including our main character from Something is Killing the Children. And the White Division is basically they're pack hunters, and also they're kind of all assholes.
Right.
So yeah, just it's pretty simple. Black people good, white people bad. Oh, I didn't mean it like that.
It's also, I mean, very intentional choice to make the hero of this book. I mean, I guess like you said, it's a character from the book already, but I think the only black person in Something's Killing the Children thus far that I can remember, at least.
Well, I mean, most of the book takes place in Wisconsin, so
there's like 3 black people in Wisconsin. Okay,
the principal.
You're right. It's my mistake. The principal was black, and he was sick. He was trying to get the fuck out of there.
Yes, he was not having a good time, and I mean, Aaron is mysteriously bi, right? Who fucking knows? He's a person of color, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Aaron is introduced to his newly forced upon roommate Jace, who's a member of the White Mask division of it. And basically we kind of just get like an exploration of like kind of this like the Order of the Saint Dumas, like the inside of it, because we only get glimpses of it in Something That's Killing the Children, which is always fun with these spin-off books because we actually can explore the different capacities for it. And the writer does a really good job of introducing us to it, but also see, I'm doing this with my thinking face. I keep forgetting I'm on fucking camera now.
Doesn't matter. You're allowed to think on the podcast.
But it's just me like looking out the distance and like, huh. But that's such a cool thing with this is like they can explore this more, but leaving it very mysterious the entire time with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's a really like kind of coming. It's like fun to see the coming of age things that's happening during the flashbacks, and focusing on like the struggles this person. I mean, is it wrong to give away the final page of it, or is
no? I think this is a classic. We talked about it in the Something's Killing the Children podcast. A classic Tynion flourish is just like an amazing final page to a first issue that gets you hooked. I don't think it's a spoiler. It's a spoiler of the first issue, but obviously the whole point is moving forward to get the reader hooked. So that last page where we find out that Jace is, I guess, a monster now.
Yeah, Aaron, like the books open up with Aaron like hunting something down. We don't exactly know what it is, and him like reminiscing on his past, and it kind of does make sense at the end because he's hunting a monster, and at the end it's revealed to be Jace, the roommate that was first introduced during the flashback sequence.
Yeah.
And apparently they were in love, or at least it was a one-sided thing. We don't exactly know.
Another Tynion classic is LGBTQ representation in his books, which I always appreciate. It would have had to. You would need some explanation for why he turned so quick to his side. Like, I like to think of myself like a relatively nice guy. I'm not blocking any punches from a tiny white girl to a guy I just met 3 seconds ago, unless I'm romantically interested in them, which is what we find out on the next page.
I mean, I think, Che, if you could pull up this page, I think it's page 22 for me, where he blocks the punch.
Yes, yeah, I got you.
And I love the final 2 panels of it because it's like very much like this scared boy in the flashback to this like very like hardened, like scary looking motherfucker. And I love the choice for like eye color in it. We see it a lot in the main series, but in this one it's like as well. Like I love that it's just sometimes just pure like weird pupils. Maybe I'm just obsessed with like weird eyes after watching Dune. I don't know.
It's one of the most distinctive feature of the Erica Slaughter character design is her
big ass green eyes.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, no. I like this first issue a lot.
Page.
Like this first issue a lot. I'm excited to see where this is going. I mean, I love this like story. I love this universe, and I'm happy to see that it's like getting more love. It's gonna be. I mean, the Something's Killing the Children is gonna be a TV show at some point. It's gonna happen.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we talked about this with Boom Studios and Dark Horse a lot. When they find something that's really working, it's just good and bad. They kind of have no choice but to really double and triple down on it because they're just smaller. They're smaller comic book companies. It's the same reason that there's so many Black Hammer spinoffs, and I've kind of loved all of them. So I think
same thing with Hellboy though. I mean, there were so many Hellboy like BPRD and like Hellboy in like the past and the future and hell. It's like all over the fucking place. And I mean, what's like we see the big two do it as well, where they have like there's a million Batman books for a reason they sell.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. It's not exclusive to the smaller.
No, it's not. But
you kind of know when it's gonna hit for the small ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm hoping. I mean, I'm just happy to see this book's going well because when I read it last year, the first 2 volumes, I'm like, this is like something like awesome. And then I just like I'm mad I discovered it so late, and I'm happy to see that it's getting at least like enough love to even get its own comic book on the side.
Yeah.
But Che, what we got up next?
Yeah, we'll move on to the next one. Next one up is Dark Knights of Steel, new Tom Taylor book. Tom Taylor, we've talked about on the podcast before. I think one of my favorite, most recent books from him is the Hellblazer Rise and Fall miniseries. Also, Cory rides hard for Injustice. I still have
You've got to dive into it at some point. That's where, like, I think that was his, like, first, like, not even big book. They kind of, like, comic book tie-in books are, like, where people go to, like, fill up time. Yeah. And somehow Tom Taylor went in there and, like, made an excellent series to the point where he actually got it adapted into a cartoon. I have not watched the cartoon movie. Apparently, it's not great, but it's been DC's MO with the
classic DC animation in the last 5 years.
It's like besides, it's been rough.
Not good.
Great.
This is a quintessential example of something that should suck. It should be a bad book, and it's not. Oh, this first issue is so good. I kind of love.
So you want to give a bit of like a kind of a background of what this book's actually about?
Yeah, so this is a alternate reality, Elseworld type story where Superman is brought to Earth as an unborn baby, and his parents have him on Earth, so they don't die back on Krypton, and they become,
which has always been like a question I've always asked, like why didn't they just build a bigger ship?
Yep, it's never been answered before until
no.
Until just
so
now.
Dumb.
The answer is they could have built a bigger ship.
It is.
And they become king and queen of a King Arthurian style world. It's Middle Earth. Wow. It's old Earth, but it has magic. Obviously, we have our same superheroes. It's very 1602. Reminiscent of that, or also more recently the Amazing Fantasy book by Carrie Andrews over at Marvel. Another sort of similarly styled.
This is it's very. I was also thinking very 1602, but this is definitely treating itself rather than being like hint, hint, nudge, nudge. This is this character with more of like this is just like we're using these characters in this whole like Game of Thrones esque like it's like very much high fantasy, which I'm fucking always about. But it's like very very good, and like when I was reading, I'm like this could be like if you took out the superhero names and stuff like that, this would be just like an amazing fantasy book by itself. But I think
we started to see this, especially with comic book movies, is that the way like people have started to, because of the nature of the movie business, where like either movies are $10 million budgets or $150 million budgets, and there's very few people making in between movies. The movies that used to exist in that spectrum, like the genre movies, like heist movies and buddy cop movies and all that stuff, have just become superhero movies.
Yeah.
And now, if you want to release a fantasy comic book that sells well, you either have to be a really well-established name, which Tom Taylor is, so I'm sure he could have gone over to Image if he really wanted to, or you can you can write your fantasy story and just hot swap in Bruce Wayne riding a horse in Batman armor.
And let me just say this though. This is 100% awesome though. Like if you
it's not a criticism. It definitely works. I love
this. This is fucking awesome. But yes. We found ourselves in like this King Arthurian land, but we don't, and we kind of skip ahead about 20 years from that point.
Yeah.
And where we meet a young Clark, and I guess Batman's around the same age as him, but he looks a lot older. But I guess like both Batman and him are 20 years old.
So logistics of this, he must be younger because of the reveal at the end.
He must be, which is like.
But why do they keep saying you should be king if he's the younger bastard brother?
I think
because he's more human.
I think the point. I think there was a line in it saying that Batman's parents were
Also, just to be clear, Superman's father Jor-El fucked the queen.
Apparently.
Shouldn't they be dead, not in charge of shit? I mean, this is rich for me.
Kill him?
I don't care. That's fair. That's a good point. How are you gonna kill him? I do love that opening page. And actually, yeah, yes. Well, but I'll show it on screen right quick. This opening page is like, not opening page, but the opening when he kills all of the horsemen, and we sort of, it's like this. It turns from this beautiful moment. They land on Earth. We're like, oh, it's nice green meadow. We've got ourselves like a real fantasy medieval horseback story. Seems fun.
The fantasy medieval version of Kansas. Yes.
Yeah. And then he turns everyone into dust, and goes back to kiss his wife and child, which is in itself, I think, a great summary of the sort of complication with Superman's character. It's a good thing he's a good guy, because if he wanted to, he could bring about the apocalypse.
But even also, I feel like this was like I don't know. I didn't treat Superman's father as like a bad guy in the situation.
No,
he didn't. Yeah. So I think it's like a very interesting way to like kind of introduce the characters.
Like 13 dudes with
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, like, he didn't mean to kill 13 dudes.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so after that introduction, we get introduced to apparently Black Lightning's a king in another town, which I'm like, cool, more Black Lightning. I don't care.
Black Lightning is always great.
Awesome.
Also, have Black Lightning and Constantine ever been in a book together? It just seems like a very weird pairing. I'm sure they've showed up in something together, but just an odd pairing.
Yeah, it is a weird pairing. But I was like, when I was reading this, like, I feel like you have to have a Constantine pop up at some point, just because of. And I like that he's like just like a disturbed child.
Yeah, he's like a little boy Constantine.
I guess obviously we're gonna get more out of him later on. Older.
So he seems like he's very much going to be the Merlin-esque character in this book, where he speaks to the prophecies and everything.
But yeah, like apparently there's a prophecy that when Superman comes to Earth, this is going to be the end of the world. So that's kind of the gist of things. 20 years later, the world's not dead yet, but I guess we'll see what things happen. I'm sorry, 19 years later. So we're introduced to a young Clark who's the prince who always wants to get out of the castle, but can't for his own good, even though he's fucking Superman, which I guess they kind of do point that out. And Batman, who's basically the Witcher.
Yeah.
Which, need that. I want that book more. But apparently, Batman's like hunting down magic users because magic is the only thing that could affect Superman's family. So.
But also, not to play the logic game in a superhero fantasy book, but does Batman's powers really work if he's like being like just this fucking rich guy who can invent anything he wants, work in medieval times where like what's he inventing, a fucking sharp sword?
We're gonna besides like the whole super tech genius Batman, you still got the detective and the martial artist on the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. We don't get to see any of that in this first book, but I'm sure it's all there.
I mean, he has a fucking spy network used of small children. I mean,
that's again fucked up, Bruce. What are you doing?
Hey, listen, they're probably
just out here violating child labor laws.
They're probably orphans. They don't know any better.
Did he kill all their parents?
Probably. Were they magic users?
Might have been.
Oh, I guess it makes sense why there's not a Damien or Tim in this. I guess he's a bit too young to have had a 10-year-old child.
Yeah, I would hope. Actually, back then, maybe not.
I didn't think about the logistics of that until just now. But yeah, so Batman has his spies. Richard, Nightwing, Duke, the black sidekick that I guess you still.
I kind of like that they're not being called by their like names.
Yeah, of course not.
Names. We get a reference that that Bruce is obviously known as the Bat Prince. But I'm glad people aren't walking around calling him Bat Prince because that's silly and ridiculous.
But it's like he's wearing a helmet that has bat ears on it, but it's like, yeah, but it's Batman. It's cool. Don't worry about it. But it feels very like medieval. I mean, of course there probably were characters who like had this thing in this if you're doing this high fantasy setting. But Batman goes to track down like a banshee woman or whatever. It's Black Canary, but like
Black Canary, yeah.
It's Black Canary. So he goes to track her down because all magic users are bad in this universe apparently. The buildings gets all like blown up from from her siren call, but Batman somehow survives. Who knows why? Mystery. Oh wait, we already spoiled that. Yeah, no, it's But basically, we yada yada yada. Superman saves Batman. We get introduced to Harley Quinn for one page. I'm assuming she'll come back. I mean, she's a court jester. I mean, that just kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like the book kind of like doesn't really not a lot really happens after that point, but we do.
Until the last page.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we get
another. I mean, this is. If you are a comic book reader, you'll be familiar with the structure of number one issues, which is introduce you to the world you've been entered into, establish the rules because sometimes the rules change depending on what kind of comic book you're reading, introduce you to the characters if that need be, and then at the end make you come back and buy issue 2. And yes. I mean, Tom Taylor, but also, I mean, the thing that separates, I think, good comic writers from people who are just who just use cheap tricks is that this, just even without the twist at the end of this book, I was highly invested because Tom Taylor is just a great writer. I mean, there is, like I said, this should have been cheesy and dumb by all accounts, and it just really works because he, one, understands these characters so much that he can shift them to an entirely different world, and both make it seem really believable in that style of storytelling, and also be faithful to the characters. Superman feels like Superman. Batman feels like Batman, despite the fact that he's riding around on a horse. And Alfred, who looks like fucking Don Quixote in this book,
fucking love it. Just love that. Just like it's just But I mean, like, but as we did say early on, apparently, like the king, Superman's father, at one point slept with the queen, who was Batman's mother, and that's why. And the twist is that Batman's, I guess, half Kryptonian.
Yeah. Do you think so? That look when he says, "You are my son, Bruce," and we get the look that Bruce is supposed to be giving to him toward the camera, whatever. I don't know how to describe that when it's not a movie, but toward the reader. Is that supposed to suggest that Bruce didn't know that until now, or is it just like a look of like, oh,
no? I think this was 100% like. I mean, it seemed way too expositional to be like, it would be way too. To me, it would be way too expositional to be like him just running this down. But to me, it seems like.
But he knows he's a bastard, right? So
he knows he's a bastard, yes.
But he just didn't know who his dad was.
Exactly, he's Jon Snow, except like we know who his parents are.
Yeah, and then hopefully the end of this isn't as.
Yeah, so as it always ends with Batman, every time he has a parental figure.
It's true. He was his dad for 3 panels.
He's like, "You're my son, Bruce," and then he gets a fucking arrow in the eye.
You know, that's an interesting debate. What's more powerful, the Kryptonian powers that come from being a man of Krypton, or the danger of being Bruce Wayne's dad?
The dangers of being Bruce Wayne's dad, and now whatever hell upon the world has been unleashed, because they have that final page with the lightning striking in the background. Yeah. Batman's father is dead in his arms, and his eyes are glowing red. This is how you. This is how you do an amazing Elseworlds. Like, not only is it like Elseworlds because of like the concept, but also just the whole idea that like not only are we existing in this high fantasy world, Batman's also half Kryptonian.
Yeah.
This is a cool idea. I'm really about this. I'm liking where this is going.
Tom Taylor knows his shit. All right, let's move on because we have
a lot to talk about.
Many more comics and
your boy needs to go watch Eternals.
Oh, you're going to see Eternals today?
That's what I'm seeing today.
Soho tickets.
No. Soho's next week for Cory.
Nice. Next up, we've got another spinoff from a series that Cory and I really liked. I haven't talked about it in a while though. This is the Nita Hawes Nightmare blog. It exists in the Philadelphia universe. Unclear as of right now how related it is to the Philadelphia books. We get like a offhand mention of one of the characters.
Was the character that was stated to be the one she was dating, was that the main character from
Jimmy Sangsters is, I'm pretty sure, and I'm behind on Philadelphia, I haven't read it in a while actually. I'm pretty sure is the main character of Philadelphia.
I feel like it would be weird to just mention it, but it seems like maybe they dated in the past.
Yeah.
So maybe she knows some detective stuff.
But for those of you who aren't familiar, this is the Rodney Barnes books from Image. Rodney Barnes, mostly famous for being a TV writer, actually wrote an episode of Heels.
That's cool.
As well as a couple episodes of Runaways, and I think he's most famous for The Boondocks and Everybody Hates Chris.
I'm groaning at the Runaways. I'm not groaning the fact that he watched the Runaways. I've only watched.
Yeah, I think he only wrote 2 episodes of that. I don't really blame him for how bad that show was.
I watched half of the first episode. Holy shit! What a bad TV show.
Yep. We talked about it on this podcast.
People like that. People like that show. No, I watched the full episode.
Also, art and layouts is how he's credited by Jason Sean Alexander, and then art by Patrick Reynolds. I never know what that means.
Wait, what was it again? I'm sorry.
So
Can you say it again?
layouts and art by Jason Sean Alexander, who did the art on Philadelphia. And then there's a separate artist, Patrick Reynolds, who's credited as doing just the art. And then we have Lewis NCT does the color. I'm unfamiliar with Lewis NCT and Patrick Reynolds' work. I looked them up. They've done a couple cover work before, but this is their first ever.
I genuinely. I have no idea. I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of something like that before. Or maybe.
But basically, it's a team of 3 artists on this book, and the art is fantastic. It's very similar to the Philadelphia art, which makes sense because it's obviously the same. It's partially the same team. And
really good shadow work as well.
Yeah, but this is a great. I mean, obviously, very timely. Came out during the Halloween season. Great horror book.
Yes.
And I think for me, I was a little hesitant at the build-up because I thought the backstory of this character, Nita Hawes, is not. I'm not super interested in her like professor. There's a weird line where she's like super Christian for some reason. Didn't love that, but then
it's always interesting to me whenever we do like these demon hunting things. I mean, not Constantine obviously, but like when the character's like super Christian. To me personally, I mean, I don't know. Let's not get in a discussion of faith, but I'm just saying I might question my faith if fucking hell demons start popping up. I don't know.
Yeah,
like
it wasn't a very well written line. I'm not even like I don't have a problem with Christians in writing and Christian characters in writing. It's just not a very interesting line. She says Taekwon, this is Parapsychology 101. Today's lesson is on Christianity. It's not open to opinion or debate. But this is a classroom, ma'am.
Yeah.
So what are we doing here if it's not up to opinion or debate?
But there's also there are those fucking people. Like they fucking drew that shit-eating grin on his face. Like, I know exactly you. I know exactly who the fuck you are. And you're the one interrupting lessons.
They both seem really annoying, honestly. But then when their story really kicks off is when we get this absolutely brutal demon murder. I guess demon killing scene where a demon comes into a recording studio and kills the rapper and both engineers. And then we find out later that demon seems to have possessed I think a patient in hospice care in an assisted living facility, and leads to, I think, my favorite of all of the amazing last pages we're going to talk about today and have talked about. I think my favorite last page in a book, which is just a truly horrifying panel of this janitor staring up at the ceiling as a man walks on it with his hands and feet, staring down, singing at him. Genuinely, truly horrifying.
Fucking amazing. I love a good monster design.
Face he makes
I love that Cthulhu. It's fucking great. This is awesome. I love the Philadelphia universe. I love it when there's a good blend of supernatural and a solid detective story. And this seems like it's continuing the phase. I'm not a huge vampire guy when it comes to like supernatural horror things. I'm a bit more of like, let's get fucking weird with it. And this seems like it's kind of getting the let's get fucking weird with it vibe to it.
Yes.
I don't find vampires scary. I'm just saying, I don't find them scary.
No.
That's just me. I mean, hey, listen.
They're sensual is what they are. Isn't that right, Corey?
Say it again? What'd you say?
I said they're sensual.
Okay.
We're going to talk about some sensual vampires in a second.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Well, I think the thing that I really loved about this first issue is... I just realized we've done 3 spinoffs. That wasn't even really planned. Or like 2 spinoffs and like an Elseworld story.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite scene in this is when she's talking to her dead son, and we don't know, obviously because of the nature of the universe, she could be literally in a room with her dead son talking to him. Dead brother. Sorry. He's still very young, and you're right, dead brother.
The ages don't really make much sense. So how was she? Never mind.
Well, I think he died years ago, and is still, and she's aged, and he hasn't, obviously.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yes. I'm just dumb. Okay, it didn't happen recently, because of course not. She's a fucking professor, so she had to have gone through a lot. But okay.
Yeah. But I just love that scene because it's like, it's gut wrenching and it's really well written by Barnes, but also plays on the themes of the story, which is like, is this really happening? Is she imagining it? Because obviously, like I said, in this world, it could be both things. If this was a regular, true-to-life story, we would know that she's imagining it. But yeah, I think that this another book that's just great introduction to these characters, and great introduction, not reintroduction to the world. If you haven't read Philadelphia, definitely go check that out. Another one of my favorites from Image, but I think this is a pretty solid standalone though. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can just jump right in. I don't know if there's a ton of background information you need. Just know that there's demons and you're good.
And apparently the police are coming after me. They're on their way. Guys, I wish I could have an actual recording studio. I'm so sorry.
One day we'll get Cory out of that fucking hot box. All right, should we move on to the final 2 comics?
Yes, let's do it.
Speaking of sensual vampires.
No.
Yes. Why are you saying
no?
No.
Stop it.
Cory's a big Twilight fan. I don't know why he's acting any differently right now.
I'm not.
We have DC versus vampires. This is the second James Tynion IV book we're talking about. Co-written by another podcast favorite, Matthew Rosenberg, who did 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank, Batman Urban Legends, Hawkeye Freefall, and Punisher most famously. I know you're a big fan of Hawkeye Freefall, right? Is that the one?
I am. I did like Hawkeye Freefall a lot. Yeah, no, I think Matthew Rosenberg, I think he's done a really good job. Yeah, I like Matthew's writing a lot.
Yeah,
and
we talked about
the well written
4 Kids Walk Into a Bank in book club. Also, art by Tyler Boss, who is responsible for Dead Dog Spite, another favorite of mine.
And I think it just came out in a trade. You guys should definitely pick that one up if you get the chance to see it. Very good mystery.
Art in this book by Otto Schmidt, who worked with Rosenberg.
I love Otto Schmidt.
Yeah, he worked with Rosenberg on Freefall, and I think most famously, correct me if I'm wrong, Green Arrow.
His
work from him. That's
the Benjamin Percy and Otto Schmidt run on Green Arrow was fucking fantastic. I cannot recommend that book enough. That book was very good, and I feel like it's one of those books I feel like no one really paid attention to, but it was excellent the entire way through.
Yeah, we've got ourselves another book that should be bad. This is a silly idea on paper. Vampires have infiltrated the Legion of Doom as well as the Justice League and are bringing about the end of the world. And then, because Tynion and Rosenberg are just great writers, this book is really good. I love the opening monologue, I guess is the way to put it. The voiceover from we think is going to be our main character.
Yes. The fuck is his name? But he was the main character in the DC comic book I, Vampire.
Yeah.
That came out a couple years ago. I read it when it came out a while ago by Scott Snyder. Good book. It's just been a long time since I've actually read the book itself.
Good book, better movie, you'd say?
There was an I, Vampire movie?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about I, Frankenstein?
Oh, you're right. Damn it.
You're thinking about I, Frankenstein.
I am thinking about I, Frankenstein.
There is, I'm not a big fan of the name. I never really liked
there is an I, Vampire movie, though. Came out in the year 2000. I've never heard of it.
I'm assuming it's not the same thing.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Cory.
Wait, hold on. A sensual trilogy of vampire stories from Wizard Entertainment. The sensual vampires strike again. But Cory, tell us what happens in DC Vampires. DC versus Vampires. Not as much fucking as I would have wanted, but
no, not as much fucking as we would have wanted. Our character, I Vampire, shows up at the Justice League covered in bandages and bloody with a warning that vampires are basically coming to destroy the world. He finds out because he was hunting his estranged lover who was murdered. So he was hunting down her killer, which led him to the Legion of Doom, where he finds all of the Legion to either be dead or vampires, with Lex Luthor giving him a syringe that will save the world because Lex Luthor is just, science
I know
guy.
We do this all the time, but Lex Luthor should be in a wheelchair by now. He's just a regular fucking dude. Yeah. How am I supposed to believe he's hanging with Batman and Superman and then all of the vampires?
Well, Batman's a regular dude.
Yeah, but he's got a suit and a Batmobile. Lex Luthor walks around in a Brooks Brothers suit, a regular suit.
Yeah, because he can afford it. Okay.
Absolutely ridiculous.
But yeah, so apparently vampires are infiltrating our society, and no one really knows about it. It basically leads to, and I mean it's kind of funny. I don't really know. There's not really as much. I can't always say this not a lot that happened in this first issue, but it's a lot of fucking fun. and it's a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
just
I think
chewing
I
the
think
scenery. You probably explain it better than I can, please.
Okay, so we get our hero, I Vampire, walks his way to the Justice League, and throughout that we're getting a lot of exposition. Well written exposition, but basically it's introducing us to this world where vampires exist, but also they've started to take over and everything. And then we get, I think the crux of the book happens in this infirmary where Green Lantern and oh my god, what's his name?
The Wonder Twin.
Wonder Twin.
Yeah, one of the Wonder Twins, the boy one. Who gives a shit? It's one of the Wonder Twins.
Fucking blended, which is
he got blended into one of the most insane sequences I've ever seen.
Just full. Also, nobody could hear it. Nobody hears the blending.
No. Just apparently not. But I couldn't. It was one of those like horror moments where this is very clearly like tongue in cheek and they know what they're doing when they're making this. But it was just like, this is disgusting, but it's funny. The Green Lantern just casually sipping out of a mug, just being like, "Yeah, I'm a fucking vampire. Nobody can touch me. I can bend light around me. Fuck you."
It's an amazing sight gag to have. That's Hal Jordan, right?
Yeah, that's Hal Jordan.
Yeah, to have Hal Jordan drinking the blood of a Wonder Twin out of a mug he created after blending him in a full-size blender that he created.
Yes.
And he says, a bit watery. It's great. Tynion and Rosenberg have a great sense of of both horror and comedy in a way that I don't think many other people do.
This is a very like dark comedy. It's like, I mean, entirely my shit, but it was just like, this is disgusting, but I think this is hilarious.
But I mean, the turn is the best part where where the twin mentions, "Oh, I'll just go get the rest of the Justice League that we've been told are not here. They're off world," and then we realize, oh, this is much darker than we already thought. And then, of course, the end is great. I mean, the end, another just fantastic last page of the first issue. We find out that, as usual, Lex Luthor has managed to outsmart fucking everybody somehow.
Always.
And his blood will save the world, because as we've already seen earlier in this issue, his blood kills vampires.
Don't worry about it.
It's, again, another thing that just on paper should be patently ridiculous.
I also just love like Lex Luthor being like, "I want you to let them know that I'm the one who saved the world."
Yeah.
And like, such a petty asshole to the end of the time.
Post-President Lex Luthor, I think in the DC canon, he's very needy of people's...
I gotta say this, Jeff Johns' Justice League run where Lex Luthor was a good guy for it is one of my favorite like Lex Luthor stories, and it really is a shame they made him evil again. I feel like it's like when Dr.
that Doom book.
Like when Doom went good, like the last Bendis book that I thought was like genuinely amazing. He was so good as like a good guy, and then they were like,
"Rest in peace, Bendis. Fucking career, man. What happened to that guy?"
I don't fucking know, man. But then put him back in the Steel Mask and like, oh, he's a bad guy again. Like, why? We just had all this character development. Like,
well, as we've always said, one of the worst things about the big two, really comic book industries in general, but like the big two, is that they're too afraid of permanent change.
Yeah,
they're very happy to make big moves temporarily. They'll kill off Captain America and murder Wolverine, and they'll kill Superman or kill Alfred, but as long as they can be pretty sure by the end of it, everybody goes back to where they were when this all started.
I think there's a very interesting idea if like that didn't happen, and like we let Iron Man just become a bad guy post Civil War, and then Doom becomes a good guy. I think there's a lot of interesting stories to have been told since they had all this time, but movie sales and stuff. So I mean, hey, listen, we love the movies, but they really sometimes.
But I don't even know if it's just the movies. I mean, this was a problem well before.
This was a problem.
We had massive billion-dollar movie studios at the helms of these two companies. I mean, it's just if you're, I think most comic book fans disagree with us. Is the thing. I think if you're a Superman fan, you want to watch Superman be Superman. So. I
mean, listen. I mean, I was still team keep Batman dead, but I don't think anybody. A lot of people are agreeing with me, but I think we should keep Batman dead.
Yeah, I'm Team Central Vampires, so. Next up, last of the new comics, we have The Human Target by Tom King and Greg Smallwood. Once again, Tom King in his
12 issues,
his element.
baby.
Yeah, where we love to see him. Taking a character that people forgot existed.
Yep.
and writing a 12-issue book about how he's the most important character in the DC universe. It's great. Also, Corey, did you ever watch the Human Target TV show?
No, I did not.
People who are fans of the Human Target TV show will be very surprised at what they read in this book because it's not the same thing at all.
I've read the comics a long time ago, and I just knew the general gist of it was that like he pretends to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And he survives at the end of it, but like the person's getting almost killed. And at least the stories that were told in the other comic that I read was like each issue was like focusing on this particular person, him pretending to be. It was a weird concept, but I did like it. But I mean, like honestly, like I don't think he's had a book in years.
No, I at a time I knew the Human Target TV show was loosely based off of a existing DC character, but and in the show he is named Christopher Chance, but as far as I can tell, basically it has nothing to do with the actual DC comic book.
This reads like the older, at least like some of the DC Comics books I read, at least the same kind of like pacing of it until, well, the general pacing of it, like with the Lex Luthor comic bit, was very akin to what I've read beforehand.
Yeah.
It's been so long that I can't even remember which one I read.
Well, let's intro this first issue of this series that will probably not end until 2023, annoyingly. But Tom King has once again paired up with a just, I think, perfect artist for this book. One of the things that Tom King is like, I mean, he's great at a lot of stuff, annoyingly. But one of the things I think he is best at is knowing what artist and what style of art really works for these stories. And the fact that this is like this sort of like 60s pop sort of art style, I think, reminds me of like disco era shit. Kind of worked because it feels really, the whole time you're like, oh, this is not all that serious. And then by the end, you're like, oh, this guy's going to die at the end of this book. Yeah. This is like the stakes in this are really genuinely real. And I kind of love that he is very different from not just any Tom King hero, because Tom King obviously explores heroes that most people aren't really writing about, but it's just different than really any DC heroes that people are writing books about.
And I like this, the idea for the mystery is also really cool.
Yeah.
Where you have the suspect list, because I mean, it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the assumption is that someone tried to kill Lex Luthor by poisoning him early in the morning.
Yeah.
Our hero, the Human Target, drank the coffee that was meant for Lex Luthor, which got him the poison.
Right.
But the end of it's like but it's like got trace elements of some kind of alien biology or whatever left over from it, and the only people who have had that same makeup is the Justice League International from the 80s.
Yeah.
And
wouldn't it be just like Tom King, who we already know hates you personally? Wouldn't it be just like him for it to be Booster Gold that did it? I'm going to call up Tom King. I'm going to hit him up. I'm going to say, hey, Tommy, I know you probably had some ending in mind here, and it's probably like The Martian or some shit.
Please stop.
What if?
Fuck off. I'm gonna be so mad if it is Booster Gold too. I'm gonna be legitimately upset, I think.
I mean, there's like I'm counting it up right now. There's like a 1 in 12 chance, looks like, that is Booster Gold. It's actually probably not any of them. I mean, it's probably a red herring, but
still.
Oh my god, it would make me so happy, Corey. I'm sorry. I know it would make you so mad, but it would just make me so happy if you did that to you.
Why does he hate Booster Gold so much?
I don't know.
What cheer did I?
It seems like he does genuinely hate Booster Gold, though.
That fucking horrible Batman arc in his original Batman run, Heroes in Crisis, which I just genuinely hate. And now, I swear, I saw him on page. I'm like, nah, there's no way. But now that you said it, I'm gonna be mad I'm gonna be mad when I'm actually wrong.
It's literally the first thing I thought when I turned the page. I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be Booster Gold. It's gonna be great.
I do want to post it.
Aside from the fact that it's clearly a personal slight at Corey, it's just a great twist to be like, because it's believable that it could be any of them, right? Because the whole thing is they tried to kill Lex Luthor, not tried to kill the Human Target.
Yeah.
And obviously Lex Luthor, evil, bad guy. I mean, the only one that it's probably not, and it'd be weird if it was Batman. It'd be weird if Bruce Wayne was like, now is the time.
Yeah, I guess the question is like, who is Hold on, let me pull the page up. I'm just gonna I'm gonna
I'll bring up the page on the.
Yes, please. I'm also gonna look it up myself because I'm curious to see.
We've got some very familiar faces. If you're,
you know what page is on? Oh, I found it.
Yeah, it's
oh man,
page 28, I think.
Yeah, so we got Captain Atom, Martian Manhunter, Batman, Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Fire and Ice, Mr. Miracle, that Russian guy, Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, and I forgot what the fuck this Chewbacca-looking motherfucker.
I was the only one I didn't know. I was really hoping you were gonna tell me who this fucking weasel guy is.
I think it's like Gernard or Glort or something.
It's like a hamster with a mustache.
I don't know. I don't know who the fuck he is. So I kind of hope it's him as the bad guy. I feel like the Russian dude is like, it's like way too much of like a, like this is, I don't know. I'm curious. I'm very curious to see who is. Yeah. Oh, Black Canary as well, I believe, in her disco outfit.
Yeah. I think this book is, as always, the best part of this book is Tom King's ability to shape these like little thought about characters into something that feels like really kind of genuinely like easy to connect with. The best part about Mr. Miracle, I think, is that it introduced this character to a bunch of comic book fans, people who have read comic books their whole life and probably have never read a Mr. Miracle book. And this Human Target book takes this character who, and now I got to go back and read a bunch of Human Target shit.
Okay, I looked it up a little bit. The Vertigo Human Target book that came out in the early 2000s is very well done. I really enjoyed it. I'm guessing it's that fucking weird dude with the mustache though. I'm gonna say he did it. I don't trust his eyes.
Yeah. I'm once again excited for it. Anytime Tom King. We just wrapped up Rorschach pretty recently, which was just another masterclass from Tom King, 12-issue miniseries, where I think either the whole time we were like, I don't know what's going on. This is good but weird. And then at the end we were like, oh, he's a genius. He's a genius. He's figured it out. He's landed the plane perfectly. I kind of like that this is just a straight up mystery.
Me too.
And a straight up mystery that at the helm of it is not Batman. I mean, I guess we sort of had that with Strange Adventures, but I don't know. I doesn't seem like there's going to be a misdirection in the same way there was in Strange Adventures, where we have a unreliable narrator in the same way. So.
I'm wondering that too. I also I love that they like kind of gave us like each day, and also I think it's very smart to be like, it's like 12 days until you die. Of course there is. So I guess every going to be like. Oh yeah, I
love that opening page where we get that backtrack of he's just died. Which, again, knowing comic books, he could very well not be dead, but we get that he's just died, obviously. And then we rewind through all the days, and then beautifully done, because at this point we don't know the coffee's the thing that poisons him, but that last shot on day one is of the coffee cup next to a newspaper from the Daily Planet. So, just excellent.
Completely excellent
as always. Anything else to say about the Human Target, Corey?
No, nothing else for me.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we will come back and talk about some other good stuff. Well, this is Che from the future. The second part of this episode went way longer than originally planned, so we just spun it off into its own episode. So this is the end of this episode. Thank you guys for listening. I'll do the customary plugs in this announcement. If you haven't already, please go rate us 5 stars. Really helps us out. Really helps out the podcast. If you are on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you are not, go check out the YouTube. It is in the description of this podcast, the link to the channel. And so far we've got 3 episodes up there now by the time you're hearing this. And the second part of this episode will be live. It's all going up together. Just wanted to separate it out so it's more manageable for people to listen to. So you can check your podcast feeds or check the YouTube channel or the website nexttimeon.net for all that good stuff. Thank you very much for listening. Like I said, the second part of this episode is already up, so go check it out.